Thank you, Professor Ajit Boro, for inviting me to um, talk about my personal journey and to be able to share my knowledge with your community and with your students. I am so honored for the opportunity to motivate the students of your college and Bodo students, students all over Kokrajhar and other outlying districts in Assam. So let me go ahead and just start by giving my personal information. So my name is Antoinette Denapoli, and I am the John F. Weatherly Professor of Religion and South Asian Religions at Texas Christian University. I teach in the Department of Religion, and Texas Christian University is located in Fort Worth, Texas, in the United States of America. So, for those of you in our audience who are familiar with the United States, you'll probably know that Texas is the largest state in the mainland of the USA, and it falls in the southwestern part of the United States. So, when I'm in India, people call me as Anita.
Anita.
And when I came to Bodoland, I received a new name, that of Onjali.
Anjali.
Onjali, yes, it was. I was working with a Guru Ma by the name of Kalyani Ma Brahmo, and I met her at the Kumbh Mela, which was held in Prayagraj in 2019. And we had made a promise to keep in touch. And of course, Kalyani Ma is Boro, but she also speaks Hindi, and so that's how we were able to communicate in Hindi. And I had promised her that I would come visit her in Bodoland and learn more about the Bodo culture, because for all the years that I have been studying about India, about the religions of India, particularly Hindu Dharma, that is my specialty, I knew very little, if anything, about the Bodo people, Bodo culture, Bodo traditions. And so I felt that I have an obligation to learn more about the culture. Anima would be my eyes, and she would teach me. And so when I came here, it was in many ways an initiation, a ritual initiation into a new identity, into learning about the Bodo people and Bodo community. And so that is when she gave me the name Onjali. And I had sort of Mene Ek Mazakia. I had, made a joke and said, now I'm an American Bodo. So American Bodo. So as you can see, I'm in full Bodo dress. I am a full professor now, but it's been a long journey. I started my college education when I was still in high school. I did very well on my exams. Many of you probably have heard of the SAT or ACT, they're college entrance exams. And I have a twin sister, by the way. So I have a Judawi Behin. She's 3 minutes older. And we both were very, very intelligent, and we did very well. And the principal of our high school had told my parents of an opportunity called dual enrollment, where we could be in high school but also enrolled in college part-time. And so my twin sister and I, we enrolled in the local community college to get started on our education. And initially, I never set out to become a professor of religion. If you had said to me many decades ago, I won't say exactly how many, but if you had said to me many decades ago that you're going to be a professor of religion, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, no way, because I was studying to be a nurse anesthetist. So I was actually going into the sciences. I was quite good in the sciences and very good in studying the human body, anatomy, physiology, nursing. So what happened was I took a class on religion. It was an introductory class on the study of religion. And it was when I was at the University of South Florida in Tampa. Now, Tampa's in Florida. It's one of the 50 states of the United States of America. But let me just interject here that I was born in the Bronx. The Bronx is located, it's one of the boroughs of New York. And so I was born in the Bronx, raised in Queens, New York. And then my family in 1984 moved south to Florida, and that's where my family has been since 1984. I grew up working class. I grew up working class, but then slowly, my family moved from lower middle class to middle class status. But even though I come from very humble background. My mother is from South America. She's from Colombia. She's an immigrant to the United States. My father is Italian. I should say he's no longer with us, but he was born in Italy, and he was also an immigrant. But because my grandmother, my Dadiji, was born in the United States, my father had American citizenship. I am the daughter of immigrants. You could say I'm a first generation American, well, technically a second generation American. And my parents had always instilled in me the value of education. That education is not only a means toward an end, but that it is significant, it holds value because it is education, because it creates a new perspective on life, because it creates a new way of seeing the world. I like to think of education as like the glasses that we wear through which we view our existence, through which we perceive the world. And I have found education to be just the lens that continues to broaden my understanding of the world I live in. So I grew up working class and then middle class, went to the community college through dual enrollment and did very well. I graduated within a year. And I was graduating high school and community college at the same time, and I was barely 18 years old. And so, but when I took my first class on religion, I absolutely fell in love with the study. I thought I would major in the study of Christian mysticism and Christian ethics. But then what happened is I read at the time, of course, I didn't know Sanskrit. I studied Sanskrit later, but at the time, I read a translation of the Upanishads, and it moved me very deeply. And I felt that the very ideas, the very ways in which people from ancient India, in ancient times, we're talking maybe 9th century BCE, 8th century BCE. So this is an ancient period. People during that time had amazing religious experiences that completely transformed how they thought about their purpose in life, the meaning of life. Reading the Upanishads from a very young age. I was 18 years old when I read my first English translation of the Upanishads. And reading the Upanishads, and then the Bhagavad Gita, and then a translation of the Brahma Sutras, and so on and so forth. I just became so enamored with Hindu philosophy, Hindu theology, that I felt it held so many important answers to ultimate questions. For instance, for those of you in our audience who have read or one day will read the Upanishads, you will see that the questions people were asking in the 9th century BCE are the very same questions we ask ourselves today. Who am I? Who am I really? Beyond this body, beyond, this face, this mind, this identity. Who am I beyond Anita, beyond Antoinette from the United States? Where does life come from?
And where it will go back.
Exactly. What will happen to me when I die? What is the meaning of life? What is my role in the world? These are questions any human being will tell you they have asked at some point in their life, because you cannot live in this world and observe the precarity of our existence, the very transitory nature of our existence, the very impermanence of our existence. You cannot live in the world and not observe how precious life is and how nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. And so it really instills in a person who is sensitive, it instills in a sensitive person a sense of there's more to life than meets the eye. And so it was with that intention that I entered into the study of religion, and I actually left the nursing program, and even I left my aspiration of becoming a nurse anesthetist. Sometimes I joke that had I been a nurse anesthetist, I would have put people to sleep. Now, as a professor, I can put my students to sleep. But no, the last thing they do is fall asleep in my classes. They don't do that. So I received my baccalaureate of arts in religious studies, and I was also studying women's studies. I took courses in linguistics. I was studying Sanskrit, so that when I was at the University of South Florida in Tampa, they had a graduate program in religious studies. They just didn't have a professor who specialized in the study of Hindu religious traditions or Indian religions. We had professors who specialized in the study of Christianity. Of course, it's the dominant religion, not only worldwide, but of course in North America, it is the dominant religion. We had professors who specialized in the study of Judaism, ancient Israel, Christianity, Christian ethics, but Islam, but we didn't have a specialist in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. And so I decided that I would pursue my graduate studies, my Master's of Arts learning, at the Florida State University. And I chose the Florida State University because at the time there was a distinguished scholar of India, an Indologist, an ethnographer, an anthropologist of religion, trained at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And her name was Professor Kathleen Erndl. And she specialized in the study of goddess traditions within the Hindu tradition. So she specialized in the study of goddesses, rituals, mythologies, practices, institutions, and people within an expression of Hinduism devoted to worship of the goddess or Shakti.
Religion itself is a philosophy. So if you go through deeply about the religion, we shall be able to realize about our self. What is the self? Who am I? The philosophy of religion enables us to understand about God. It helps to understand about our life. It helps us to love ourselves, respect ourselves, and we need to understand that life is short. Maybe short, but this is very, very beautiful. We have to live the life to the fullest. As I have told you during our informal discussion, that in BTR and in some part of Assam, Some problems are taking place repeatedly amongst the students community, like becoming drug addicted, committing suicide, then getting married at an early age, school dropout, and so many antisocial activities they are involved. What suggestions would you like to give to the students so that they become motivated? Once the student becomes motivated, they will realize about the importance of their life. They will understand about their obligations. And they will love their life, and they will never think of committing suicide. They will never think of becoming drug addicted. So, ma'am, we are expecting suggestions from you.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Boro, for giving me the opportunity to share my perspective and even humbly offer suggestions that hopefully will motivate the students of Bodoland, the people of Bodoland, to appreciate their very lives, their very existence, and to affirm their deep sense of humanity that unites us all. So what I would say to our students, it's not only Dr. Boro students, but my students, anyone who sees themselves as a student of life, anyone who will become a student, whether you are a child, a teenager, college age, an adult, an elder. So my suggestion is to emphasize that you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone in this life. In our darkest moments, and I say this because I have been there myself, in our darkest moments, when we feel unanchored to any foundation, when we feel detached, dissociated from our families, our friends, our colleagues, our work, our lives, when there is that sense of meaninglessness and purposelessness, where we feel that we don't matter. That happens when we when we forget that we do matter. We're not alone, but this depression, this anxiety, this feeling of hopelessness that so many of us are facing today. Students in my country are facing it today. Students all over the world are facing it today. This, unfortunately, seems to be one of the effects of living in modernity, unfortunately. But we feel like this when we feel alone, when we feel as if there is nobody, that we have no one and nobody. And I want to say to all of you, that's not the truth. That is not real. That's our minds going into a deep, dark, sort of devolving kind of place. And what do we know about the mind is that it's like a monkey. It's constantly running from here to there. It never listens, and it is deceitful. And so stop the monkey brain chatter for a moment. Just pause, students, pause. When you find your brain getting out of your control, when you find your mind acting like that horse who is no longer controlled by the reins of rationality or the reins of sense, pause for a moment and take a deep breath and tell yourself that I am not alone. You have people in your lives who care for you. Look, you have obviously, to me at least, your principal of your college, Dr. Ajit Boro, cares very deeply for all of you out there. If he is taking the time and making the effort to make these videos for your benefit. So remember, you are not alone. talk to someone you trust. Talk to your teacher. Talk to your parent. Talk to people you trust and let them know the pain that is going on inside of you, because you know what? It is temporary. And it is not who you are. It is not your essential self. It may feel like it because when we're confused, when we're in angst, we cannot tell the difference between reality and illusion. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 6, it says, when the mind becomes confused, when it becomes enraged, when it becomes absolutely consumed by distraction, we're not clear. We lack equilibrium. And so when you feel alone, when you feel depressed, and you're thinking of acting in ways that would harm the self, understand that that is not who you are. That is a very confused mind. And your task, your challenge is to gain control of your mind, to pause, take a deep breath, remind yourself that you are not alone, that there are people who care for you, that your life has meaning, your life has value. Look, humanity has been here not for very long. Maybe we're a blip on the screen of the larger cosmos, but we've been here for at least 10,000 years that we have science to back that up. And we didn't get here today by giving up. So I would also suggest to our students to find a mentor. Mentoring is absolutely essential to the next generation. Mentoring is absolutely essential for building support, for building resilience, for building strength, for passing on knowledge, and for growing into a full and complete human being. It can be anyone. It could be your dadiji, your naniji, your teacher, your mother, maybe your priest or your priestess. It could be anybody. A mentor is someone who is willing to take responsibility for guiding you, for leading you. I'm not talking about this traditional guru-disciple relationship where you surrender and your mind to a teacher and it's just devotion. I'm not talking about that. That's fine. But when we talk about mentoring, we're talking about entering into a professional relationship where there is an understanding on both parties that we are here to accomplish a goal. And so the mentor and the mentee work out what it is that the mentee needs to learn. What do they need guidance on? How do I apply to college? How do I do better in my studies? How do I raise my grades to be able to even think about going to college? How do I, if I am in college, how do I write? How do I create a dossier that would allow me to go into advanced studies, into a professional career? And just think, I firmly believe that our purpose in life is to serve. Now, many of you listening to this broadcast today will understand that this is an ancient message, and this message has been echoed by the rishis, the buddhas, the jinas, the siddhas. So this message is not new. We are born in order to make life better. I worked for at least 2 decades with sadhus in North India. And the sadhus have taught me to approach life with the idea that this place is not ours, but it is for us to learn from, to make better, to develop in such a way that future generations can also benefit. So think of when you find a mentor and you are being mentored by someone, think that that is developing you to become somebody else's mentor, someone else's guide, someone else's confidant whom you can lead and who will benefit from your guidance, from your tutelage, from your kindness and compassion. Always look for compassion. And compassion comes in many forms. It's not just going to be a mentor agreeing with everything that you have to say. Part of the responsibility of a mentor is to be mature, to be able to distinguish between what would be a good choice for you and maybe what would not be a good choice for you. So compassion could very well be a mentor saying, that is not good for you. This is not good for you. Spending your nights drinking alcohol, spending your nights smoking, spending your nights just wandering here and there with no purpose isn't good for you. And you know what, students? You need somebody who's going to be dead and brutally honest with you.
So, Madam has given two suggestions for the student. The first one is that you are not alone. The society needs you. Society is with you, and society is working only for you. Then another suggestion from the madam is that you have to accept someone as mentor who can suggest you, who can guide you, who can motivate you, and whom you can trust. So with these two suggestions, the difficulties faced by the students will definitely be minimized. I do believe that. And these two suggestions are very important. The most important thing is that you have to listen. You have to listen to the teacher, to the parents, and to the educated people who are advising you. That capacity you must have, listening capacity you must have. So, ma'am, your hobby and your food items.
I love to cook. And yes, I can make dal, but I'm not so good at making chapatis. But I love to cook. I love to cook different cuisines. I love to host. I love to hike. You know, one of the ways that I like to clear my mind after a long, hard day. As professors, we have long days. Sometimes we've got so much going on in our heads that we need to do a mental cleanse. Mental cleansing is good. Meditation is good. So what I like to do is usually at the end of the day, when I come home from work, I greet my family, I greet my animals, I tell them how much I love them, and then I go for a walk. I usually walk maybe 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, depending on how enthusiastic I am.
Every day.
At least 5 days a week. I walk and I allow myself the time just to connect with the world around me, to pay attention. I'll tell myself, okay, so find a flower, find a pink flower, find a bird, listen to the bird song. In other words, I try and make my mind focused on the present moment so that I can appreciate the beauty. And then what I find is that after an hour and a half of walking, my mind is clear. And whatever I may have thought was insurmountable an hour before no longer seems so like a mountain that I can't climb after my walk. So walking is good. Clear your mind. Put your phones down. Have a conversation with a person where you are looking at them in the eyes and you're listening and you're speaking. Okay? We live in a digital world where people want to reduce knowledge to a Twitter handle. Sorry, friends. That's not going to happen. Okay? So you have to make an effort. You have to listen and you have to commit. It's a discipline. We use this word sadhana in the study of religion, and sadhana is it's an Indic language term. So, but here I'm using it in the sense of discipline with the intention to achieve a goal. And you have to ask yourself, what is your intention in engaging in any work, whether it is learning, whether it is finding a mentor, whether it is finding a hobby. Ask yourself what your intentions are. Be clear on that. And then be committed. See it through all the way. Don't give up, okay? Because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I was telling you that my hobbies are, I enjoy hiking. I used to be a runner. I used to run 8 miles a day. I was like this thin, but I used to run 8 miles a day. I don't do so much running anymore, but let's see. I love to read, and not just academic works. I like fiction. I very much enjoy fiction. I like watching Netflix. I like watching movies. I love Hindi movies. This is how I brush up on my Hindi, by watching, the latest Hindi film. So I have many hobbies, but most importantly, I make sure to have a handful of very close friends whom I can turn to when I feel confused, whom I can lean on, whom I trust, because having a support, mental support, social support is absolutely essential. Ooh, my favorite food habits. So I'm half Italian and half Colombian. So I love Italian food. I love Spanish food. I love pizza. Oh my gosh. And if you want to be my new best friend, I absolutely love New York style cheesecake. So I challenge all of you to make a New York style cheesecake. Send it to Dr. Ajit Boro, who will send it to me in the United States, so I can tell you whether you have meet the challenge. So I eat lots of fruits and vegetables, drink lots of water, get good exercise, and just, I would say the most important hobby I have is being mindful. Being mindful of my thoughts, being mindful of my behavior and its impact on other people. Sometimes I just will go to the mall. I'm an anthropologist, so I think studying human behavior is important. And it's fascinating. Human beings are fascinating. So I'll go to the mall and I'll just observe people. What are they doing? Are they mindful? And to me, it is absolutely amazing how people can go through their lives unaware of the world around them. It's like they're functioning like machines, like automatons. It's almost like imitation behavior. And so for me, it's so easy to get caught up in sort of the habit, but I make it a habit of reminding myself to pay attention, to notice people, to listen to people, to pay attention to like the colors, the clothing people wear, the way they speak, the foods that they eat, the way they smile, the way they laugh. And to be kind. I would say being kind is one of my favorite things to do.
You love
Kindness is in fashion, by the way. My favorite hero
Indian heroes?
is my favorite Indian hero. Oh my gosh, is Hrithik Roshan. Don't turn off your cameras. And my favorite, can I tell you my favorite heroine?
Yeah.
Zeenat Aman. I love you, Zeenat Aman. I think you're just absolutely wonderful. I hope I can meet you someday. You are just...
And your favorite Indian leader?
My favorite Indian leader?
Maybe political, religious, or...
I dared. Should I say?
Yeah.
Well, I have to say I have an admiration for Sonia Gandhi. Because it takes a lot of guts to leave one's country to marry into really a political dynasty and to rule the country, to be the head of the president of the Congress Party for how many years? I have an absolutely deep respect for Nehru, for Gandhi, for India's freedom fighters, many of whose names we don't know because they died in battle.